Next, we'll be taking a look at MTN and Vodacom's data service provision. Now, there's lots of reliance being placed on data revenue from here on out, Paul, with ARPU levels coming under pressure, and that's set to be the new growth area moving forward.
Yes, and look, we mustn't be naive and say that this is the sort of panacea, because you understand well that when people get a SIM card on a starter pack type basis, that's high margin business. In South Africa, call rates are still quite high, so it's good money to be made by the networks. The service works well. When people start using phones to send each other instant messages, that's a much more efficient way for the customer to communicate than the voice call. So you really are dependent on quite a long and drawn out cycle of handset replacement before you start getting comparable revenues back from someone. But I think the networks just understand that that's the way humans are going. I mean, I don't know whether either of you have teenage kids, probably not, but mine don't ever talk on the phone. All they do is text each other, and that's fine because
it saves you money.
Saves me money, but also long time, you'd be amazed. They also use Facebook online, they use Twitter, they use WhatsApp. They're on the phones all the time. They're the new digital generation that doesn't use a map. They get everything on the phone. They interact entirely with their friends that way. So net in the long run, it ends up being a valuable customer for the network. You just got to back the cycle, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, Gerbrand, it's very interesting the kind of strategies MTN and Vodacom are pursuing. I mean, we've got MTN growth coming from the medium to lower income level bracket. They're targeting consumers who are entering the data market. And then you've got, through Vodacom developing their own smartphones to actually grab that market.
Yeah, look, I think it's a migration from the old type of phone to the new smartphone, and you're going to see data revenues reflecting that going forward as well. Although you're going to see prices declining on data, I think the bundle that they're actually selling, or the excess data in the system at the moment, will be sold as well. And I think it's probably a match of the match. They're probably going to get the same revenues over long term, as Paul said. So you might pay less for 1 gig or 2 gig on your data contracts going forward every 6 months, but you're certainly going to use more as customers do switch over to smartphones, people who actually upgrade their contracts again.
To be fair to the customers, though, the network needs to be substantially better. You know, we know we're going to 4G LTE for the last link to the customer. We know there's a lot of fiber being pulled between the various cellular base stations, but we all know of people who cry because they live in an area where the 3G connection is shockingly bad. So the point is, there's a lot of business to be taken away from Telkom's ADSL operation if the network could only stand up and deliver the product. And in Nigeria, it's the same thing. They're rolling out 2G stations where you can only get an edge connection. So there's great demand for the product, and it would be used more if it wasn't so pathetically supplied. And the network management people know this. It's just for them a toss-up between spending the capital and getting the return. And it's kind of taking time. They can't pull the fiber quick enough.
Well, we'll be taking a look at these two players' CapEx spend in just a bit, and just how much is being directed to improving infrastructure. For now, Paul, who's driving the innovation agenda better?
Look, I think they're both excellent companies. We're very fortunate that this industry had, free rein, and they didn't have too restrictive a regime with regard to pricing. They've made good money, but they've all pumped a lot back into our economy. I think some of the growth we've experienced as an economy is probably due to these guys, because the World Bank and others have shown that countries with a good cellular network grow faster. And they pumped a lot back into social services, into sport, into all sorts of things. So they're both excellent companies. They're both, in fact, very competitive. They watch each other very closely. And, like I say, they could be better, but I think we should be so lucky that we've got two prominent companies of this scale working as innovatively as they are.
Could they be better when it comes to things like vertical integration? I mean, a company that jumps front of mind for me is Safaricom over in Kenya. It's partnered with Equity Bank. It's brought through M-Pesa very successfully, and leveraging off that partnership with a bank successfully right now.
Yeah, look, I think our 4 big banks would probably put something in front of that. So I think from a competitive advantage, or a competitor point of view from the banking system, we got 4 great banks in South Africa as well. So I think it's very difficult to leverage off specific taking over the banking industry like they've done in Safari.com some places. So that's much better serviced area in South Africa. So I think from a global footprint, from MTN's view, they might do that in some of the countries a bit better than they have in the past, and maybe copy some of those initiatives on that side. But I think from a South African point of view, just in the South African market, we certainly do have enough quality banks who would probably take that competition head on.